Okay, let's be real. Have you ever gone to make a salad and found a block of ice where your lettuce should be? Or worse, you go for milk in the morning and it's lukewarm? Ugh, it's super frustrating, right? But what if I told you the fix is probably way easier than you think? Let's dive in.
Yeah, if that sounds a little too familiar, then you are in exactly the right spot. We're going to pinpoint the problem and, even better, show you how you can fix it yourself. The culprit is this tiny little part that, honestly, doesn't get enough credit.
And here it is. This little guy is the thermostat. Seriously, think of it like the brain of your whole refrigerator. It's the mission control, the command center. It's the one calling all the shots, telling the heavy machinery, the compressor and the fans, when to get to work and when to chill out. Literally.
So here's our game plan. We're going to break down what this brain is actually doing, how it works. Then we'll cover the telltale signs that it might be on the fritz. And after that, we're getting our hands dirty. I'll show you how to diagnose the problem, replace the part, and test it to make sure everything's running like a dream.
All right, first things first. What does this thing actually do? Because it's a little more sophisticated than just a simple on-off switch. So its whole job, its entire reason for being, is to be a little temperature watchdog. It's constantly monitoring the air inside the fridge, and it's basically shouting orders to the cooling system like, hey, it's getting a bit toasty in here, fire it up, or, okay, we're good, temperature is perfect, shut her down and save some electricity.
And this is the target, the sweet spot it's always trying to hit. To keep your food safe and fresh, that thermostat is working 24/7 to keep the inside of your fridge between 35 and 40 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 2 to 4 degrees Celsius. If it strays too far from that range, well, that's when you get the frozen lettuce or the sketchy milk.
Okay, so here's a thing you might not know. Not all thermostats are the same. Nope. Depending on how old your fridge is or what kind of model you have, you're going to find one of two different types of controls running the show.
First up, you've got your old-school mechanical controls. You know the ones, the classic knob you turn, probably with numbers like 1 through 5. Then you've got the modern electronic controls with the fancy digital displays and push buttons.
And this is where it gets really interesting. The mechanical ones, they're actually kind of just guessing. See, they don't measure the air temperature directly. They measure the temperature of the cooling coils and then take an educated guess at what the air temp must be. That's why you can get bigger temperature swings. But the electronic ones, they have sensors that measure the air directly, which means they are way more precise, holding the temp super steady. And that precision is what lets them have all those extra features, like door alarms and diagnostic modes. So, the big question, how do you know if your thermostat is the one causing all the trouble? Well, luckily, your fridge is probably giving you some pretty obvious clues.
Okay, symptom number 1. The fridge runs all the time, like it never shuts off. Or, the complete opposite, it won't turn on at all to cool things down. Both are huge red flags. Other signs? You're finding frozen stuff in the fridge section, there's a ton of ice building up in the freezer, you see puddles of water inside, or it just sounds like the fridge is turning on and off, way more than it used to. Any of those sound familiar? It's probably the thermostat.
Okay, so you've seen the evidence. Now it's time to put on your detective hat. I'm going to show you two really simple tests to prove, once and for all, if the thermostat is guilty.
Test number 1 is the easiest. We call it the click test. All you do is, while the fridge is running, turn that temperature dial from its coldest setting all the way to its warmest setting. As you turn it, you should hear a very clear click. That click is the sound of the thermostat telling the cooling system to shut off. If you hear it, hey, your thermostat is probably fine. But if all you hear is silence, then we need to move on to our next test.
All right, for the definitive proof, you're going to need a little tool called a multimeter. First, and this is super important, unplug the fridge. Then you'll carefully take the thermostat out. You see that little sensing bulb on it? Stick that into a glass of ice water. This basically tricks the thermostat into thinking the fridge is nice and cold. Now you take your multimeter probes and touch them to the thermostat's terminals. What we're looking for is something called continuity. It just means there's a complete electrical circuit. If the meter reads close to 0, awesome, the switch works. If it shows no connection, bingo, you found the broken part.
So let's just quickly break down what's happening. Your multimeter is testing for a connection. The ice water is the trick. It makes the switch inside the thermostat close, which should complete the circuit and let electricity flow through. If your meter says there's no path, even when it's in the ice water, then you know for a fact that the switch inside is busted.
Okay, so you've done the tests, and you've confirmed it. The thermostat is toast. The good news, you can totally do this. Replacing it is a perfect DIY project. Let's walk through it step by step.
But before we do anything else, and I can't stress this enough, the single most important step. Look at this quote from a user manual. It's a serious warning. Before you even think about touching a wire, you have to unplug the refrigerator from the wall. Seriously, this isn't optional. It's about your safety.
All right, safety first. Now let's get our gear together. You're going to need the new thermostat, of course. Make sure it's the right one for your fridge model, plus a set of screwdrivers, some pliers, and a little bit of electrical tape is always a good idea. The actual replacement is pretty straightforward, you'll see. So, with the power disconnected, you find the thermostat housing and open it up. And here is my #1 pro tip for you. Before you disconnect a single wire, pull out your phone and take a picture of how everything is connected. Trust me, it will be a lifesaver later. Okay, once you've got your photo, disconnect the wires, unscrew the old thermostat, carefully pull out its long capillary tube, and then just do everything in reverse with the new one. Mount it, position the new tube, and use that photo you took to reconnect the wires exactly how they were.
Awesome! The new part is in. We are on the home stretch now. There's just one last thing to do. Test our work and make sure it stays working for a long, long time. So go ahead and plug the fridge back in. Set the new thermostat right to a medium setting. Now here's another little trick for you. To get a really accurate temperature reading, put a thermometer in a glass of water and stick that inside the fridge. Why? Because that tells you the temperature of the food, not just the air, which can fluctuate. Let it sit for a few hours, then check it. If that water is holding steady in our magic zone, that 35 to 40 degrees, then congratulations, you nailed it.
And if you want to keep your new thermostat happy so you don't have to do this again for a long time, just follow a few simple rules. Try not to put big pots of hot food straight into the fridge. Let them cool down first. It just makes the whole system work way too hard. Also, keep the inside clean, and try not to crank the temperature dial up and down all the time. The more stable you keep things, the longer it'll last.
And that's it. Just like that, you did it. You didn't just fix your fridge, you took charge, you diagnosed the problem, and you repaired a major appliance all by yourself. Think about it. You just saved yourself a bunch of time, some serious cash on a repair bill, and no more frozen lettuce. That is a huge win.
So let's end on this thought. By making sure your refrigerator's brain is working properly, you did more than just fix an annoying problem. You're making sure your food stays fresher longer, your fridge runs more efficiently, and you might even see a little dip in your energy bill. It really makes you wonder, right? What other simple fixes are hiding around your house just waiting to be discovered?